Robin?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the September 10th Planning Board meeting of 2013. It's being recorded by LCAT, by Don Mackey, and it's also being recorded by Robin McDonald, our director. Is there anybody else here that is recording this meeting? All right, with that being said, first up we have public hearing for Bay Path College Academic Building. So,
It was published in two separate.
I'm gonna read some stuff into the record.
So you just
If
If you guys want to come up, whoever wants to represent, that's
Do I
fine.
have to say what papers are published?
All right, you guys can make a presentation. We're gonna open up amongst the board for questions, and we'll go to the public, and we'll come back to the board.
Okay.
Because normally
All right.
it's just a note and a reminder.
Okay, great.
All right, first thing we're gonna do is read some things into record. Sure.
All right, this was published in the Republican and the Reminder. The Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the hearing room of the Town Hall, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts, on September 10th, 2013, at 6 o'clock in the hearing room of the Town Hall, 60 Center Street, an application for site plan review filed by MFC Systems, Inc., to construct a two-story academic building at the corner of Denslow and Shaker Road. Information regarding this application is on file with the Planning Board and available for review by the public.
All right, do we have anything else? I know we have got a,
That's it, right?
no, we have a letter.
Oh, whoops, excuse
Couple
me.
letters,
This
actually.
is the DPW. police department.
Okay. Memo to the Planning Board from Robin McDonald, Bay Path College Academic Building. I have reviewed the drainage this is from Frank Moriarty. Morandi, excuse me.
Close enough.
I have reviewed the drainage calculations and find them to be in accordance with the Massachusetts Stormwater Management Standards up to and including the 100-year peak flow rates. Ample water and sewer are accessible from the town's infrastructure. One change required on the site plan is to relocate the branch, domestic, and fire service valves to the tree belt area at the site. I approve the site plan for the development. If you have any questions, feel free to contact Frank's office. Memo from the Police Department. Site title, Bay Path College Health Science Building. Location, south side of Denslow Road at the intersection with Shaker. Applicant, MFC Systems, Inc., 70 Post Office Park, Suite 7003, Wilbraham. Owner, WFL Realty, LLC, 751 Ridge Road, Wilbraham, Mass. Security systems, exterior lighting, yes. It is recommended the applicant's proposed lighting plan be accepted. Interior lighting, yes. Alarms, yes. Recommendations, none. Signage, yes. It is recommended that the proposed location for signs be accepted. They should not result in any visibility issues for motor vehicle operations entering or exiting the site. It is recommended any signs on Denslow Road, no parking, stop ahead, intersection ahead, should be reinstalled in the appropriate location. It is recommended a one-way sign to be installed at the northwest entrance of the rear drop-off area to remind drivers of the traffic pattern. G, traffic impact, traffic study, yes. Location of entrance, exit, south side of Denslow Road. Traffic volume increase, yes. The applicant submitted a traffic study for this project utilizing estimated enrollment of 274 graduate students and as many as 20 faculty and support staff. This project will result in an increased wait time, but not a significant one. Traffic control changes, yes. It is recommended a center line be painted on the main rear driveway to delineate between inbound and outbound traffic lanes. It is recommended any crosswalk markings be consistent with existing crosswalks in East Long Meadow. Police service impact, yes. It is anticipated calls for police services will increase as a result of this project. Additional recommendations, comments, yes. It is recommended the developer consider utilizing existing mature trees and adding additional trees between the proposed building and the intersection of Shaker Road and Pease Road. Vehicles occasionally continue straight west on Pease Road and into the field on the property. Okay, this is a memo to the planning board from Brian Lees, 5 Millbrook Circle, East Long Meadow, Mass., to the members of the planning board. Good evening. As a longtime resident of East Long Meadow and a former elected official representing the town in the Massachusetts State Senate, I am writing to you to offer my support of an item that I understand is on your agenda this evening. Bay Path College has submitted a proposal for an academic building to be built at the corner of Shaker and Denslow Roads. Having worked with individuals from Bay Path for over 25 years on a variety of issues, I have always admired and respected their input, professionalism, and straightforward approach. Having Bay Path and part of their academic institution located in East Long Meadow will only benefit our town. They will not only be an asset in many ways, but a good neighbor and provide potential employment opportunities. I look forward to welcoming Bay Path College community to our wonderful town. Sincerely, Brian Lees.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it.
That's it.
The fire department didn't have any problems. They did appear at the round
Thank you.
table,
Yep.
but unfortunately, I have not received the report.
All right, but there were no
But
complaints.
no.
All right, you guys, I'm gonna let you present your what you would like to do. Just give us your name, address, and affiliation, if you could, before you
Sure.
start.
Good evening. My name is Jim Martin. I'm a lawyer at Robinson Donovan in Springfield, Massachusetts, and I'm here today on behalf of MFC Systems, which is Michael F. Crowley, and Bay Path College. And we're excited to be here today to present this proposal to you in the site plan for your review. Also accompanying us is Rob Levesque, and we have in our audience Mike Giampietro, who's the Vice President of Finance
Okay.
at Bay Path College. We've got Matt McDonough. We've got no stranger at East Long Meadow, Gary
Gary
Pointer. We've got our contractor, right? Seth. And we've got our architect, Ben.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a full team here to answer any questions that might come up.
Okay.
We think we put together a very comprehensive presentation to you tonight in the form of the plans that have previously been submitted and reviewed, and that Rob, Mike, Ben, Seth, and company, and Gary will go over with you throughout the course of this presentation. We're excited to be presenting this to you. I think you're all familiar with the site. The site is at the corner of Denslow Road and Shaker. Historically, it was part of Northeast Land Development Trust, which is a large tract of land that the Robbins family purchased a long time ago and developed the Sunshine Art Studio Factory, which is now Sullivan Paper. Mr. Sullivan is here tonight.
Okay.
And that other parcel on the corner has been undeveloped and vacant for more than 25 years. At least
Yeah,
that
at
I've
least
been
that. familiar
familiar with that parcel. George may know how long it's been vacant, but I can't remember. There is appears to be a foundation of a house or a building or a structure at some point that we found, but I did work
Honestly,
with
don't remember anything. I've been in this town
Gary
for
Phillips.
46 years.
Sunshine
anything.
since 1981, and I don't ever remember a building being on that
Okay.
parcel. So it's a great opportunity, I think, for the college and the town. Mike originally was acting as the developer, having contracted to purchase the property and to work with Bay Path. As the project has moved forward, Mike is now the consultant and construction manager for Bay Path, and the property will actually be taken in the name of Bay Path College,
Okay.
so that they will own the property and be the build the building with the help of Mike and the other teammates who are here today.
Okay.
This building that is being proposed arises out of the growth in Bay Path College's primary graduate program in the Allied Health Sciences, focusing on two areas. One is occupational therapy, and the other is the physician's assistant program. And they're both very highly in-demand programs. These are graduate programs, so these are students who have already matriculated through their undergraduate program, so they're very serious, dedicated students who are on a career track in the allied health field. So the building itself is going to be a beautiful building, as you'll hear and see tonight. And we have been through the roundtable. We had a very successful roundtable. Any of the comments that you heard through the written submissions have been incorporated already by Rob into his plans for submission here tonight. Tide was at the meeting, and Ralph was at the meeting. So We've had 2 sessions with the Conservation Commission. George was at both of them, and we've successfully navigated the waters of the Conservation Commission to obtain all the necessary approvals to satisfy the town and the commission as to the appropriateness of the project. So I think without further ado, we're going to have Rob and Mike give you a review of the site plan.
Okay.
And feel free to ask us any questions at any time. And as I say, we have Ben and our whole team here to answer any questions that you have. Okay.
Terrific. Okay.
Thank you.
Next.
Would you prefer, for the purposes of recording, that I speak into the mic, or is it okay?
I think
It'll reach.
it'll reach. I think you can stand up. It's fine.
Great. Thank you. Again, for the record, Rob Lebec. We were the engineers, landscape architects on the project. I'll give you an overall introduction to the site. You're looking at the layout plan here. This is sheet C3. The subject property sits at the corner of Denslow Road and Shaker Road. This is Pease heading east. So Sunshine Arts building is here, and this is the property of Abide. We have conducted an existing condition survey as well as test pits on the subject property, as well as a boundary survey, and as Mr. Martin has mentioned, the A&R plan. So what we have before you this evening is a proposal for a 2-story academic building. That's approximately 56,000 square feet. With that building, there's associated site improvements. You can see that we have 3 curb cuts off of Denslow Road. At the rear of the building, the majority of the parking, and then at the front of the building, we have parking for visitors and dignitaries. That said, we're about 296 parking spaces associated with the use. As mentioned, there has been a traffic study completed for the use, but the major circulation to the property comes in through this curb cut here, and there's an opportunity to come in and drop off students. There's handicap accessible parking spaces at the back of the building. There's overflow parking here on the side, as well as parking in the main parking area here. So we figure that the people will filter, students will filter into these areas. There's pedestrian-friendly access points to the building from each of the parking areas, as well as monolithic curbs so that they can traverse the site easily. That said, as mentioned, we have been before the Conservation Commission. There is, as we're looking at the plan, an isolated wetland here that we've worked around. We've worked with the Conservation Commission with regard to that, and we'll be enhancing that. As I get into the landscape plan, I can get into more detail about that enhancement if you have questions. But generally, this is the site layout. Handicap parking at the front and in the rear. There is a concrete walkway and basically a plaza area here with seating areas for the students. That's described more in the landscape plan as well. And then also an entry in the front, kind of the front entry here. So as you look at the plan, you'll see that this jog here, I don't want to steal Ben's thunder, but this is the area that you're looking at. So just to orient yourself to the plan and be looking at the elevation at the same time. I'll flip over to the grading and drainage plan. The site generally runs to a low point. It's very gradual grades, but basically where my scale is here is pretty much a low point, and it's almost flat. And then the water runs off across the Tennessee Valley gas easement to the resource area to the south. There's the Sunshine Arts building, which is now Sullivan Paper, is to our west. That is higher in elevation, so actually this is probably the highest point directly adjacent to the site, and then runs into that low point. And then this is almost flat, probably at a 2 to 3% grade, running to the middle, where it's just over 0.5% running to the south. So what we have is basically a grading plan and a drainage plan that mimics or matches matches the pre-development flows. You'll see in blue we've highlighted the drain lines, which are all HDPE drain lines that run into subsurface detention systems. We do have seasonal high groundwater on the property. We've accommodated that. We've met the separation requirements for that. And it's a little bit difficult to see, but you'll see that there's a subsurface detention system here. And there's also one right here, that dashed area on the plan. And the conveyance system obviously brings the water. We have pre-treatment CDS water quality units, and then there's also a stormwater basin along the southern perimeter. There is an emergency overflow in the event of a catastrophic storm event. The water would run over into, across the Tennessee Valley gas easement, overland flow as it did pre-development, and then would run to the south to the resource area. While I have the grading plan up, are there any questions on the grading plan?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
What's the elevation of your retention basin now, from bottom, top to bottom? And how close is that to the parking lot?
It's approximately, I would say probably about 6 feet from the parking lot. There is a fence proposed around
Okay.
it.
Okay,
And
close.
it's lower than the parking lot. The proposed grade of the parking lot is 103. The bottom of the basin is going to be at 98.
All right, so 5 feet. Okay.
Okay.
How close is that to the,
6 feet.
no, not the fence, how close is it gonna be to the parking lot?
It's off the parking lot, and I'm just, because of the scale here, bear with me for a second.
It's at the bottom.
Yeah, it's about 4 to 5 feet off.
Okay.
Any
rough
barricades
scale.
or anything going along that way, or curb markings, or?
No, I can get back into the plan here. We do have berming, and there will be the fence. This is the fence along the edge. This is the perimeter of the stormwater basin. So it'll give you a better feel. You can, between the fence and the edge of pavement, curb, I should say.
Okay.
Okay. So we also have our landscape plan. I won't get into any specifics. It is quite elaborate, and we do have a detail sheet showing, excuse me, showing a blow-up of the landscaping, but you'll see that we have a number of shade trees as well as ornamentals around the building. This is the isolated wetland area here. This green area that you see here is actually the enhancement area, and there's been a detailed planting plan. We'll be removing invasives and installing new plantings within this area to enhance the existing isolated vegetated wetland. There's an area up in front here where we will be able to selectively retain some of the existing vegetation, and we're planning on doing that. The rest of the site, generally within the area of the building, will be cleared. That's why we have this extensive planting plan. I took the liberty to color in the gas easement. There will not be any trees in the gas easement, but that's, just want to be clear on that. That said, we do have a riverfront area. This green line that you see here is the 200-foot riverfront area. We're not planning on going into that. There was a comment by the police department that did discuss, I believe it was police or fire, that talked about vehicles coming down Pease Road.
Yeah.
So there is some existing vegetation there. So there's a few large specimen trees. I believe there are a few that at some point we discussed with the Conservation Commission that it would be logical, because there are some invasives as well as some poison ivy and other species that we'd like to remove.
That whole area is not gonna be touched?
That whole area is not going to be touched to the extent that if we do go into it, we would need to file a request for determination of applicability or notice of intent with the Conservation Commission. So at this point, there is no specific plans. We did discuss informally with the Conservation Commission that at some point there are a few trees that are dead that we'd like to clean out. And, you know, obviously this is an academic building. We'd like it to be as manicured as possible.
Right, understandable.
I believe I've covered most of it. Is there anything that I haven't covered that you'd like me to discuss?
All right, just quickly, what, can you just give us an overflow for the camera, the traffic flow, how it's gonna go?
Sure.
I mean, I think everybody's got the general consensus of it, but.
So professors, the president of the college, and visitors will likely enter, they'll enter here. This is a one-way traffic pattern here, okay, through entering on this curb cut, exiting at that curb cut. There's visitor parking, as well as some additional visitor parking and handicap parking at the front of the building. And this is really, call it the secondary entrance. The heavy entrance is really going to be here, okay? So the majority of the traffic will enter here, away from the intersection, okay, which is a positive. And we're coming in along this edge. This is two-way traffic in, two-way traffic to this point, right to here, and then becomes one-way around the loop. And that, at this point, the traffic will then be two-way through all of these traffic aisles, okay? And these are approximately perpendicular parking spaces, so they have the required drive aisle and space. And then the same thing here. This is two-way through here. There is a dumpster location here on the edge of the building. Obviously, with an academic building, it was a tough choice as to where to locate it. This was a logical location because of the access for the the vehicles, as well as the fact that there are a number of mechanicals that are coming into the building at this location. The mechanical room is basically over here. So with the existing vegetation and the proposed vegetation, we'll be able to screen that. That's all been screened in our plans. It's proposed to be screened with a stockade fence and in arborvitaes as well. So there's that's here. But the circulation is fairly straightforward. This is the main loop for drop-off. If buses or shuttles are utilized, they would be utilized in this location here.
Okay.
The pattern is consistent and incorporated the police department's recommendations as to dividing the entrance.
The lines and stuff like that?
One way in front of the building. The location of the dumpster is consistent with the request of the fire department to be located there, far enough away from the building so that if something ever caught fire in the dumpster would not impact the building.
Okay.
And that they could get their truck right in at the same angle as the truck removing, or the truck that empties the dumpster would.
Yeah,
would
no,
do
it looks like makes perfect sense as to where it is. All right, is there anything else you'd like to add before I open up to the board? Anybody?
Other than the fact that I'm not sure I mentioned the unforgettable Matt McDonough, who is also on our team, who
Yep.
will be on the site quite regularly, working with Mike on overseeing the project. So I wanted to make sure I introduced Matt.
Okay.
And that, of course, is the depiction of the Ben's artwork in terms of how the building is hopefully going to look after it's built by Seth. And but it's an attractive looking building, I think.
It is, I agree.
And you wanted to
incorporates
see the
some-
interior, too.
Do we?
And Sandro had wanted to.
What's that? I'll
The
come get to that in a
interior.
second.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry?
The interior, does anybody, you got somebody, would you mind going over the interior of the building for us? Some kind of a
That's
presentation?
Next on our presentation
Okay,
with Mike.
terrific.
I was just going to say, if you've seen Bay Path campus at all, it incorporates a lot of brick, so we're trying to carry over that theme and yet make it sort of a more modern building, given that this is the first new building that Bay Path's built in.
I'll just stick with the exterior for a moment here, and you'll see that this is the corner of Denslow and Shaker, and what we've done is created a cantilever effect where we're going to have the ornamental entry into the building, although it's really the secondary entry point, as Rob pointed out. This element is right here, so ornamental ceremonial entry point. The second floor will be a lounge area for students. A lot of glass, as you can see. We're creating effectively a see-through effect all the way through the building, from the corner of Shaker and Denslow all the way through to the back parking entrance. We're going to do brick on the columns. We're doing an EFIS product, a panel product on the lower band, the middle band, and the upper band, and then we're going to do a capped ridge line for the building. These are the other exterior elevations, if you will. Shaker Road, Denslow Road, and then the south elevation. This is effectively the back of the building. The back entryway, although it doesn't reflect itself very well in this picture here, unfortunately we forgot to bring the 3D picture of that element. It's fairly symmetrical with the front entryway elements. So again, a lot of glass cantilevered over, creates an entryway effect or a canopy effect, but also a lounge area for the students. This is a tad bit of a work in progress at this moment, but for all intents and purposes, the layout is consistent with what we will be building out. The first floor is going to be for the physician's assistant program, staff and faculty, offices, bathrooms, elevator shafts. We are going to relocate this stairwell right now that shows along that rear element at the entryway. We're going to drag that down a bit, and this will all become a glass corner here, if you will, two-story element. Again, you'll see the cantilevered section here off the rear, the cantilevered section here off the front. So this is the lower level of the first floor, and this line here represents the lower level of the first floor as well. And this hash mark line represents the cantilevered section for the second floor. Classrooms, mechanical room, second form of egress, primary form of egress, excuse me, the two stairwells represent this one being one that's probably going to be limited use. It's really for emergency exits only. This will be the primary stairwell for secondary egress. This is the third stairwell that we're putting in. Again, this one's going to be dragged down a little bit. We're going to relocate the the reception area slightly so that we can drag this stairwell down. This will be a fairly ornamental stairwell, suspended, if you will, see-through type of effect. Second floor will be the occupational therapy. Just for edification, the PA program is much smaller than the occupational program. Right now, they're accredited for 24 students. They're going to ramp that up to 40 students maximum, I believe, over the course of the next 3 years. It's a totally different level of health services being provided and being educated at that level. Oops, sorry. The second floor is occupational therapy. This is the predominant of the student body that's going to be attending classes at this facility. Again, you have the cantilevered section here, and this represents the second floor here, the cantilevered section. Again, as I said, we're going to drag these stairwells here a little bit further south to create a more open effect, if you will. Other than that, pretty much everything stays the same on this plan. We are talking about doing a cutout in the floor on the second floor with a glass railing surrounding it so that we'll have a see-through effect down to the first floor, again creating a significant open air effect because we see a lot of student activity both on the first and second floor in that area when they're not in the classroom. Other than that, it's going to be a great building. We've spent a lot of time. Ben Schenkelberg is the architect. Ben practices here and in Green Bay, Wisconsin. No stranger to many of us in the development industry around here. Ben's worked extensively in the Western Mass region probably for about the past 35 years. He maintains an office down at Monarch Place. Ben and I have worked on 6 or 7 projects together that he's built for me. So, and he's done a wonderful job in getting us to this point. So I think what we're going to end up with is a beautiful landmark for the town of East Long Meadow on a site that's laid dormant for far too long.
Yeah, I agree.
Is there an elevator?
Yes.
Yeah, actually.
Ty, what we're doing, you see these are 2 elevator shafts. These are young people that are going to be in this building for the most part. We understand we obviously need 1. We're accommodating 2 shafts. We're probably only going to put 1 cab in for the time being, see how the building load works, and see if it's necessary. We've got, 2 primary stairwells that we hope are going to carry the bulk of the student body up to the second floor. And then we have obviously the 3rd stairwell down here for emergency evacuation. But yeah, we are putting 1 in, and we'll accommodate a 2nd shaft in the event that the building needs more.
All right. Any questions?
I have 2 questions. You mentioned the dumpster. What's the provision for red bag waste, given the programs that are going on in this building? Medical waste, basically.
Oh, there are none. No. There's no waste products whatsoever being used. This is all just demonstrative type of...
well, I think if you're doing a PA program, that people would be handling body fluids and...
I don't think so. I don't think that's part of the program, George.
Okay.
There aren't. In the event that there may be, we contract with a vendor to store any products that are collected on site and have them removed.
So you're not expecting a big volume of red bag stuff?
No.
Okay. Secondly, perhaps you can address this. Is it anticipated that the majority of the program will actually be in this building, or do you anticipate a significant increase in traffic between here and the main campus, particularly Wolf Swamp and Maple Road?
Both programs will be operated in their entirety at this building.
Okay.
So there won't be a need to travel in between this location and the main campus.
Thank you.
And these students come, it's like a job. They come, they stay the day, and then they leave. There's not like a class at 9 and then go kill a few hours and they come back at 3. It's a full-time master's program.
Fine.
Thank you. Ralph?
Is that correct, Mike?
Yes.
Couple of questions. As far as, I know it sounds a little strange, on the roof, is there any thoughts in the future of doing any type of a green roof system? Plantings, anything like that up there? Are you going to be adding up there or anything?
No, we're not going up in elevation with the building. We're pretty much maxed out the site. We've got 295 parking spaces, 296, to support the 56,000 square feet of building that we have. So we're pretty much maxed out on the site, so obviously no more further elevation. We are putting our HVAC units up on the roof, so that's going to take up a good portion of the roof area, to be honest with you.
Okay, so No thoughts down the road of doing solar panels or anything like that up there?
We haven't thought about that. It hasn't been broached. I think we need to do our HVAC layout before we can make any kind of judgment as to what other elements we might be able to put up on that roof.
Okay. And the last thing I have, as far as the parking in the front, you've got a one-way area, actually on both the front and the back of the building. You've got a one-way area that comes in, and the parking's at 90 degrees. Have you given any thought to doing angle parking? I've noticed in the past, if you come around and you park 90, a lot of people back up and they go the wrong way. Where if you're at a slight angle, it forces you to back up and continue on one way.
I defer to Rob on that.
We do have, we really didn't think of it, to be honest, but we do have the significant width to the drive aisles as, you know, as required. It's, you know, we have the required width. So we're not concerned about the width of the drive aisle, so to speak. As far as people backing up, we did go through this with the safety officer, and he did actually add a couple sign locations for do not enters. So I think we have it covered. If there's a question, we can always address it with additional striping and signage. You know, if we find that during, you know, the operation of the facility that there's issues, we'd be happy to address it.
And my only thought with the signage, and I know it was addressed, was you have to get the people to read the sign before they obey. Where
They are graduates.
That is visitors too.
Yeah.
Where if you pull in at an angle, it basically forces you to go the correct way. That was, in all honesty, with the review of the entire plan, that was really what I came up with. I think they were very well done.
I appreciate it. I think it's something that we can discuss.
Well, and also we do have, you know, the straight part, the perpendicular parking that you see. These are actually handicap accessible spaces here. So that's the logic behind that. I mean, to go angle parking and try to be, you know, meet the 521 CMR Architectural Access Board regulations would be difficult, if not impossible. And then here, you know, granted, we could probably have done it here or here, but, you know, I think generally, I think it's going to work pretty well. I hope.
Just remember, who's elected does that. First time you go to drive in and someone's coming at you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Point well taken.
Will the HVAC equipment be screened?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Ben actually did some height vision elements earlier today to test, and you're going to have to be, this is a pretty high building. Number one, we're raising the building up quite a bit. It's actually coming up 6 feet from its current elevation, so it's going to be a pretty prominent building, and it's 28 feet high. We're building 14 feet between floors, so it's a pretty high building. So by the time you get up on top there, you'd have to be standing way down either street to visualize the top of the building.
You're just coming down Pease is where you're going to see.
You're right, you're right. And we recognize that, and it's something that we discussed at length today with our mechanical contractor, our mechanical engineer, and we are going to shield all of the units. We're going to put, there's probably going to be at least 3 different, or maybe 4 different pods on the roof to hold the mechanicals, and we are shielding them with, we're actually discussing exactly what that shielding will look like now.
Well, you've got some pretty big vegetation up right at the end of Pease Road too, that might cover most of it.
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of mature vegetation out here already. Some of it really has to be trimmed up because it's pretty gnarly out there. Certainly along Denslow, we have really nice mature vegetation. We are going to thin that out to an extent to hopefully allow some of the good trees to grow better. And we are definitely going to save whatever we can in this area so long as it doesn't pose a danger to the building.
Absolutely.
And again, in recognition of what the police department asked us to do to protect our building more than anything,
Yeah,
for
we put a
people,
couple more up. Yep.
zooming off the street.
Okay. Everybody else?
Would that be, could you put up the landscape plan again?
There is a detailed landscape plan, but
Well, down there, if I remember from the round table on the Pease Road end, isn't there a retaining wall
there
going
is.
along that
Yes,
outside?
right here, again, because we are elevating the building, so that not to create too big of a slope on the property, and to get out of the seasonal high water mark, we're raising the building up, and that's going to require us to install what we believe is going to be a really attractive architectural element, a nice stone wall effect along the Shaker Road frontage.
And with that being said, if someone comes down Pease Road,
That's going to be their problem.
they probably won't make it to the building.
Right.
That was my concern.
But there's quite a distance, actually,
Yeah,
between
yeah, it's-
coming off that. You're right.
You'd be surprised how far off-road they can go.
In my line of work, I can see everything, so. But yes, but it is quite a distance, but that wall is also both decorative and supportive.
And that, was that sitting height, is it 3 foot high?
Well, originally it was a little bit taller. Ben has been working on the revisions to the building. He's truncated the building in that direction a little bit. So we do have a little bit of flexibility on the final height of that wall. Originally it was going to be more 4.5, 5 feet. We're now looking at where we could do a couple feet in height. We may want to look at whether or not signage could be put on that at some point under a separate application. So we're looking at that now. But basically, it would be between 4 and 2 feet high.
One of our concerns is, people traveling northbound on Shaker Road, by the time they get to Abide, they're already on our site, and it's going to be challenging for them to understand where Bay Path is at that point in time unless they've been there, a bunch of times. So we're hoping to be able to create some type of, and again, recognizing that this is all area that we need to stay out of because of the riverfront area. We're really hoping that we're going to be able to achieve some type of signage implanted into that retaining wall.
That'd be nice.
So that to be able to identify the site as people are coming up to it.
All right, anybody?
One
George?
last question. You haven't talked about the lighting plan at all, and I recognize this is in the Industrial Garden Park. There are actually no residences within a significant distance of it except up Pease Road. But can you talk a little bit about your lighting plan and how you're going to light this?
Sure. I defer to Bob again on that.
I don't know if you have a set near you. It would be very difficult to see from where you're sitting, but I can
Well, just
give you-
generally, I mean.
I can give you the sheet number.
I brought a set with me.
So let's see what,
I think it's sheet C6. This is sheet C6. This is a photometric plan.
Okay.
So we have our lighting designers who basically send our site plan down to them. They look at this for a number of different categories, but the goal is to make sure that we don't have spillage over the property line. Everything is shielded away from the abutting properties. The lights are located in an area that they provide the required safety. So what you're looking at are the foot candles. So you'll see these the round signature. So there's a light pole at each one of those locations. The detail of which is in the back. Obviously, it's going to be an attractive light, consistent with what if you've seen the lights at Bay Path College, they have these same lights there, and there is, I believe, a detail in our set. But that said, these round locations are the locations of the light. And as you see, you'll see that the foot candles, as you get towards the property line, drop down to almost nothing because of the shielding. And obviously, the Sullivan Paper Company building is way over here. We have Milton Bradley here. This is all bordering vegetated wetland across the street, so we wouldn't expect that ever to get developed. And then there are, I believe, 1 or 2 residents down here, residences, and then this is Abide across another vegetated wetland.
thank you.
There is another small retaining wall here. We met with Joe and Ed Sullivan and Richard Sullivan and explained our plan to them. And one of their concerns was how the water is going to shed off of their existing property, because right now their water sheet sheds off of their stormwater sheet sheds down onto our property. We've accommodated for that in our stormwater management plan. I believe to the approval of the Sullivans. So as far as I know, they don't have any concerns. We'll put weep holes in the retaining wall here, so that any groundwater that comes off in a easterly direction from the Sullivan property will weep through the retaining wall through the weep holes.
That'll be a board?
We're not sure yet. We haven't gotten that far in terms of the actual detail. Rob has proposed, what's the product?
There's a product called Natural Stone Wall Solutions. It's basically a precast solution where they build the walls on their face with actual real stone. It's not just a veneer, it's a real stone. They pour the wall behind it with weave bowls and fabric tiebacks. There's that solution. There are a number of other solutions. Obviously, they want it to be aesthetically pleasing, so it's going to be something that looks good. We just want to make sure that we have the structural integrity. We'd love to do dry-laid walls out there, but with the height of some of them, we don't want overturning, so that's really what we're looking at. So these options, you can actually select your stone. There is a possibility that Bay Path would want to look at going with a brick or some other material that may match the building a little bit better. But in general, you can expect that it'll be a good-looking wall.
We're a little bit further away on those exact elements than we would like, but it's going to take some time.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does,
The
yeah.
light will be on the property, it will not,
Right.
it will not travel off of it.
One of those perpetual issues that comes up.
Is anybody else before I turn it? Yes, sir.
One quick question. I just have a concern with that retention basin or stormwater management. Being nothing in front of those parking spots. With a 5-foot gap, I don't know, I feel.
Somebody's going to go into it.
Yeah, that and there's a lot of, I mean, there's other obstacles too, snow and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
It's a good comment. So just so we understand the cross section, there's a Cape Cod berm.
Yep.
Then there'll be a grass apron of approximately 5 to 6 feet, and then on the other side there would be the fence. So in terms of vehicles hitting the fence, we would be comfortable that that's not going to happen. Vehicles going through the fence, obviously anything can happen. A guardrail could be looked at if need be.
Just a concern down the road for you guys.
Did you have a comment?
I was just gonna comment, it's a pretty shallow slope, it's a 3-to-1 slope, so that, heaven forbid they go through the
Right,
fence,
right, right.
and it's only 5 feet deep, it's a pretty shallow slope, they'll hit the bottom pretty quick.
Okay with pushing snow into that part right there?
Actually, we're going
No,
to, whatever snow that isn't able to be handled, on the perimeter of the parking areas, we're going to snow load down in this area.
Okay, I got you. Perfect.
Yeah, because it can't go into the detention area because it's fully fenced.
You brought that up, and we incorporated that in the roundtable.
You can't go into the river.
Yeah, we're going to do some kind of a hard packed surface underneath this sod here. If we can, we're going to have to get some approvals from Tennessee Gas, because we're going to have to cross their easement in order to get to that area for the snow load.
And I think she'll do something like that too.
There's a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Ty, any questions?
Good, thanks.
Okay, anybody else before I open up to the public? All right, you guys want anything to add before I open up to the public?
That's fine.
All right, at this time, I'm going to open up to the public for questions, comments. Please state your name and address and any concerns you may have.
Bob Adams, 63 Redmond Drive. I heard how nice the building's going to be, but what about the traffic on the Denslow and Pease Road? Between 6 in the morning and 9:30, I studied it last week, the traffic is awful. To come out of Pease Road, it takes you 11 minutes to go towards Connecticut, because Shaker Road is constant traffic flow. People go to work. I think the planning board should consider some traffic lights. We need traffic lights there. Control the traffic. I know you got a police report, but they'll be the first one to cry when they got to go down there for 5-6 accidents a week. The traffic lights need to be looked at either at Denslow or Pease and Shaker. The traffic down there in the morning is humongous. I know you got traffic studies, but I've been here 52 years, and I go down that way, and it is bad, and it gets worse every day. Not nothing we can do with traffic, but we can make it a little safer and control it a little better. I have no problem with the project, but I do have a problem with the traffic, and I think the people need to look at that. Someone from the organization need to go down there in the morning. We got 39 buses between 5:45 and 8:30 going out at Denslow Road, either way. Long Meadow or East Long Meadow. We got about 24 coming this way to Shaker Road. And your students and staff have got to get in there in the morning. What are your hours for this facility?
First of all, I appreciate your positive comments about the quality of the building and the development in itself. And obviously, we were concerned as well with the traffic, and so we went out and independently engaged a traffic consultant to do a study for us.
Mm-hmm.
They did do that study, and they realized that there were going to be some stacking, but only at a modest level. Our hours of operation right now at the school are 8 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
The consultant and the report was filed with the Planning Board and Conservation Commission, I believe, as well.
No, just the planning.
Certainly the planning.
Yeah, planning, please.
And the round table, everybody
Yep.
got it, the round.
So, as per the traffic study, our project and the capacity that it's going to drive to the area will not alter to any great degree the existing traffic flow. There will be a slight backup at peak hours created by the additional cars that are coming to our site and leaving from our site at those hours. One of the things that we have at our means is to be able to control the timing of those classes. So in the event that our traffic flow starts to create an issue, we can modify the classroom hours for the school. It appeared from the traffic study that the bulk of the traffic will come at 8, leave at 5. However, most of the flow is between 11 and 3. That's when most of the entry and exits are, I'm just saying, to our site.
To our site, not your.
To our site, not to this, which is good, because most of the traffic generated from our property is between 11 and 3, most of the trips, which is good, because those are times when there's least amount of traffic impact on this corner location.
Right.
So again, we recognize that we are bringing more traffic to the site. We recognize that we have the ability to mitigate it to some extent by the hours of operation. And then we also recognize that in the event that there are overburdens to the intersection, then perhaps we could mitigate it with some other form of turning lanes or something to that effect. But according to the traffic study, we're not going to create a heck of a lot more problem than already exists
Well, I
now.
disagree, but you have your study and I'll get a copy of it. I disagree with you. You need to look at the issue now before it's bad. The prison and Lego and all of them get out at 3 o'clock. You people need to go down there and sit and see what the traffic is at the time that you're talking. My other question is, are you going to have sidewalks on Denslow or Shaker for kids waiting to be picked up?
No,
No,
these are
planning board's not requiring any sidewalks?
these are
No?
These are graduate students.
These are not
I thought all new construction had sidewalks.
subdivision control.
Subdivisions
Yeah, something like this would not,
would not come under that?
no. And they would, sidewalks would go nowhere anyways. They wouldn't tie into anything.
Well, that's today. but
Well,
like you
we're not
said,
gonna run a
previously
sidewalk
it was down
down
the road.
Shaker Road to Connecticut.
Well, it's eventually going to happen, but not in our time.
And I realize that too, as far as the traffic study goes, I think I can speak on behalf of the board. None of us are traffic experts.
Right.
They have done a traffic study.
Right.
It
Do
was
you
brought up
think-
at the roundtable with Sergeant Bates.
Yeah.
That was agreed upon. We have to base our decision based on their recommendation, because unfortunately, we are not
So the
experts.
planning board is not looking into having their own traffic study?
We didn't require them to do it, but they have
No,
done
no,
one.
Us, East Long Meadow, that you represent, do you feel that you should
Again,
have?
we take it from Sergeant Bates' recommendation.
Does he have a traffic study? You know?
They've already presented us
No, no,
with a traffic
does he
study.
have a traffic study?
Not that I know of.
Okay, thank you. My other question is, in regards to signs, why can't you get permission from the Board of Public Works to put signs on the tree belt 500 feet up Shaker Road both ways and up Denslow Road that you're coming to Bay Path College?
hasn't really been discussed.
Okay. Is that facility going to have a portable generator?
No.
You're not going to have a portable generator for... Okay, the only thing I'm concerned with, Mr. Chairman, is I think you got to look into the traffic study.
Okay.
Now's the time to look at it and get your facts, because I know for a fact, 52 years I've been going down there, it's going to be congested even a little more. They didn't create the congestion between all the businesses getting out and the buses now that are down there that weren't there years ago.
Right, we can't punish them for what's already been created.
I understand that, but we can try and make it a little easier for the residents of East Long Meadow and the people going through East Long Meadow to go to work in Connecticut, which is very heavy in the morning. I think that light does need to be considered there.
Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you, point noted.
I think Ty and Ralph will recollect that the Officer Bates did in fact bring up the issue of signals and said that it wasn't practical at this time, so...
Okay. All right. All right, is there anybody else? Questions, comments from the public? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve site as proposed, pending further discussion.
So moved.
Second?
All right, any other comments by board members?
As far as the traffic study, if I remember right at the round table, Officer Bates thought it would be more detrimental if a light went in.
Yes.
Thinking they stop
Than
flow
what it
traffic.
would be helpful. And with that being said, I know over the years, I mean, I've lived on Pease Road most of my life, and Mr. Adams is absolutely right, the traffic backs up there in the morning. But I also know that the number of employees at Milton Bradley has dwindled. I mean, I believe there was over 1,000 at one point, and they're down into the 300s now. So you're looking at 700 vehicles that aren't there anymore, that were there 10 years ago.
Right.
My thought looking at this was, I'm thinking most people are probably coming from the highway, which would be coming down Benton, turning down Denslow, and coming in the back way. I'm not saying that you're not going to have people coming from Connecticut, but I don't think, and again, I may be proven wrong, I don't think it's going to increase the traffic to the point where it's going to be unbearable.
Well, I think right now we have to use the information that's in front of us. If that changes, if it does become an issue, then we may have to get you back here. But again, with respect to Mr. Adams, the study's been done. Mr. Bates has, signed off on it, made his recommendations. That's what this board has to take into consideration when we make our decision. Again, we're not traffic experts, so any more than we are DPW experts, and that's why we have that roundtable meeting so everybody can present their concerns, questions, and issues then. So when we get here, we can have a lot of those resolved. That being said, is there anybody else who would like to say anything?
My only comment on the traffic is that if it becomes a worse problem than it is now, I think the first ones that are going to complain are going to be the students at this building.
Could be.
Because they're not used to this area. And if they're coming in and having problems, then hopefully their administration will help deal with, so that it's an attractive place for their students to come to, and therefore they'll be able to have students.
Okay. Todd, anything?
No, I'm fine, I'm good.
Sandro?
I'm good.
Ralph? All right, I've got a motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion
Can you
passes.
just tell me
General
who
all
made
set.
the motion to approve?
Sandro made the motion and I seconded it.
And George seconded?
Yes.
Did you bring the new plans? They didn't have them signed?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Forward getting into the dirt right away.
Sure. Can I have a motion to take a 5-minute recess?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, we're going to take 5 minutes. Okay, let's go through new business, get that out of the way. First up, we have request for waiver of site plan, Joseph Remodeling, 58 Bond Avenue. Still have him here? Okay.
Okay, request for waiver of site plan. Property owner is JD Holding, Inc., 58 Bond Avenue, East Long Meadow. There is a phone number here. Name of proposed business, Joseph Remodeling. Owner of business, Robert Tardiff. Business owner's address, 58 Bond Avenue, East Long Meadow. Property address the same. Hours, proposed hours of operation, 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. 2 employees. Date of last parking plan with copy of the same is non-applicable. Specific summary of business operation: to conduct business for the purpose of home remodeling, including without limitation windows, siding, gutters, and roofing. Number of commercial vehicles, non-applicable. Amount of product storage, non-applicable. And then the application's been signed by, I can't read his writing, but it looks like Joseph, excuse me?
Joseph Dill.
Joseph Dilk. Very good.
All right, so just Joe Dilk is the owner of the property?
Yes, it's the building on Bond Street there.
Yeah, the commercial building.
Yeah, the owner is JD Holdings, Inc.
Okay.
It's a business
It's a business.
Business zone.
Business zone, I'm going to
They
say.
have separate offices in there.
Okay. Oh, I think Pete had an office in there one time. All right. Okay, so zone is just looking for an office. Okay. Anybody have any issues, comments, complaints?
The business zone.
Business zone?
Business.
Make a motion to accept Joseph Remodeling at 50 Bond Ave.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up, we have request for waiver of site plan review for Capital Butane, 782 Parker Street.
Property owner Kenneth Lucas. Owner's address 782 Piercer. Oh, Parker, that's a K. Parker Street. Telephone number is here. Name of proposed business, Capital Butane. Owner of business, Kenneth Lucas. Business owner's address, 782 Parker Street. Property address is the same. Business District A. Property District A. Proposed hours of operation, internet sales. Number of employees, including owner, 1. Summary of business operation, internet sales of aerosol cans of highly refined non-butane storage and shipment of product out of the warehouse in West Springfield, Mass. No clients come to the home. And this has been signed by Kenneth Lucas.
All right, sounds like the home office, nothing's going to be stored at the site.
Has the applicant filed a business certificate?
I think he needs this from us before he can do that.
Okay.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
So home office.
Yeah, off-site storage, no commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
No employees.
Yeah. Has this
20%.
there, so.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the waiver of site plan for this address, 782 Parker Street.
Capital Butane.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Next up is a request for waiver of site plan review, CMJ Advocates, 75 Hanward Hill.
Property owner is Christine Markel McNary?
I'll go McNary.
Okay, McNary. Owner's address, 75 Hanward Hill, East Long Meadow. Phone number is here. Name of proposed business, CMJ Advocates. Owner of business, Christine. Business owner's address, the same. Property address, same. Proposed hours of operation, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, as needed. Number of employees, including owner, is 1. Specific summary of business operation, home office, no commercial vehicles, and no clients. Advocate on behalf of the elderly and go to my residents, special needs children. Number of commercial vehicles, 0. Amount of product stored, 0. Signed by Christine.
All right, sounds like another home office.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to the house, no commercial vehicles, no employees. Anybody else have any other thoughts?
Sounds good.
Todd?
No, I'm good.
I'll make a motion to accept CMJ Advocates at 75 Hanward Hill.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to jump over to the home-based trade complaints. I see one over here. What I did is, because they're under special permit, we got the complaints that went through Dan Hellier and they came to Robin's office. Formally, I've asked Dan Hellier to go out and investigate and report his findings to the board before we take any action. I think that's the proper chain of command, if you will. As of today, I've not heard back, or Robin has not heard back from Dan, so I'm waiting to get those comments, complaints, or issues back before we address these issues. So if anybody else has anything to add, otherwise I'm going to let that go as it is.
That's good to me.
I'll wait till Dan has his findings.
Yeah, I'd rather address that when I have his input.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think we're overstepping our bounds.
If he has any findings.
If he has any findings, right, let's let him do his job before we can do ours.
Just for future, if a complaint comes in, I know a zoning complaint typically comes into the zoning enforcement officer. I just want to make sure that, everything's progressing properly. From there, it comes up to us if it's under a home-based trade, and then we make a determination at a meeting whether or not to ask for him to go out and look at it. Is that what we're looking at doing, or are we asking him to review it, let us know if there is a violation before we go forwards?
What I do is I ask him to investigate it. So he is a zoning enforcement officer. The special permits do fall under us. Unfortunately, zoning enforcement does not. So I thought it would make sense to have the zoning enforcement officer do an investigation, report back to us, and then if there are issues, then we can send letters to those people, get them back here, address the issues, and find out which way we're going to go with it.
And he's provided with the special permits so that he can actually look at the permit and what our
He gets
findings
a copy
were?
of every single
All that's on
document
record,
that
yeah.
you guys
He should be have all
ever
that.
And the reason I'm asking is because I know each special permit
Is
is
different.
individual and different. And I don't want him, I don't want anyone assuming criteria for this person that may not apply to this person.
Well, and one of the complaints was the number of trucks, and I don't, the complainant may not understand how the bylaw is written, so.
And that, my point exactly. Certain people are allowed 4,
Correct.
certain people are allowed 5, some are only allowed 3.
Well,
And
not
some
the
are allowed
person,
1.
The amount of
The
space they have.
entity, and
Right.
based on the amount of space.
Right, right.
All right,
Oh.
based
No,
on,
I mean, I'm sorry.
that's all right, I was just saying, based on what Dan provides us, based on what is allowed at the site, then we can then determine which course of action is going to be best. I mean, because there are complaints that have been made, we need to address them, but we need to address them in the proper way. I think, so far that we've done that.
Perfect.
It's
But
definitely a combined
every
effort.
decision this board makes, every plan you sign, everything, Dan gets a copy of, every single document. Because enforcement and zoning are all part of your decisions.
Right, but it's all part of his job.
Yeah, so, I mean, every single time you do something, I make sure that he has a copy of it. And as you know, I have copies, so if he has questions before he goes out as to the number of trucks that are allowed at that specific area, I can always give him another copy.
Nope,
All right,
that's fine.
okay. Anybody else have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I
Everybody
agree.
satisfied with what we've done so far? All right, next up, I'm kind of going backwards here, but industrial garden district use changes. I know there's been some talk about this in the past. We actually had John Mayberry here, and we had another gentleman here too, I can't recall his name. The Dog Hotel? Or something like that.
Woods, Peter Woods.
Peter Woods, thank you. So I know we've discussed as far as square footage, percentage. Anybody have any more thoughts, or do we want to agree on something tonight, try to get this moving forward?
I'm in favor of having them, having the business that are there, or whoever does attempt to come into the zone itself, retail, as long as it's stuff from that they're manufacturing or making. The percentage, I don't know, we'll have to discuss that. But if they have stuff in their warehouse that they want to sell, I think it's deemed fair, being the way the times are right now.
I would agree with that, but what if they wanted to sell a shirt that they did make that had their logo on it?
Yeah, I think
It's still part of,
I realize, and
Yeah,
I know
they're
I'm
not-
splitting hairs.
they're not selling, like, say, they're making,
Incidental sales of related merchandise?
Yeah.
say they're making something else and they decide to sell a chair. I mean, that's not anything to
Sounds
do
like
anything to do with their business. That I don't agree with. But if they're selling, we'll say, take John Mayberry's place, forklift parts, I don't see a problem in selling out of the counter forklift parts.
Correct, I think he does have counter sales, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Yes,
I have no,
okay.
I have no,
I think it's very
Just like
appropriate.
McGill.
I think even T-shirts,
Correct.
as long as it's their logo,
Yeah.
not a T-shirt that says Budweiser on it or
I think
something.
whatever-
That would be like the language ancillary and secondary to
The
the
primary,
primary
yeah,
use.
Right.
Yeah, but I think
Anything
in
they
terms
make.
of square footage, I
think
we
that's the
need
issue.
some more thought on that.
Okay.
But I agree that ancillary minor retail relative, to what they're actually doing there is appropriate. And I think it's better that we recognize that that's going to happen and that we regulate it and then we just ignore it.
Did any of you read the West Mass
Yeah.
regulations that I sent you that allow, that's where John got that?
Yeah,
you know,
some of
that
it, not all of it,
allowance.
I think it's a good idea, I think
It's a
it'll help
start.
the businesses.
It's a start.
Definitely a
I'm
start.
not sure, I can't remember now, I haven't read it in a while. Oh, I
Yeah.
think I have it here. I think that refers to percentage, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the biggest question before us is gonna be square footage and or percentage.
Yeah.
And I think that's what each one of us individually needs to ponder and come up with what's
Right.
gonna be comfortable to us and make it work for everybody that has these.
I mean, they
these
could have,
places.
you could have a counter, excuse me, counter this big, and your warehouse is behind you.
Right.
And you asked me to check the other towns.
And I want a part
did.
that's all the way at the other end of the warehouse.
Yeah, that's not our problem.
You know,
I- I
no,
know what
I'm
you're
saying,
but-
if they're selling stuff out of their own place, I don't see it being a problem, them using their whole place. They're gonna come for that specific merchandise. They're not coming to buy bottled water out of John Mayberry's building.
No, what they
They're
may buy
coming
if they're there.
from-
If he has it
Yeah,
for
but
sale, and
yeah, but
somebody's a hot day and they've got water, somebody's gonna buy it.
Yeah, but he has to sell just stuff that's out of his building, or that what he makes. That's relative to his business.
Right.
This water has nothing to do with his business.
Yeah, I understand relative to the business, but if you look at, like, say, McGill Hose,
Yeah.
they will buy the hose, they'll buy this fitting, they'll buy that fitting, and they manufacture it, they put it all
Correct.
together.
And then you
But
can buy
if
it.
you walk in and say, I just want the hose, I don't want the fittings, I think they should be able to sell it to you.
Yeah,
It's-
But it's part of what they do.
Right, exactly.
They're not asking for a bottled water.
They can't be a convenience store, they gotta be related to
Well,
hoses.
you know what I'm saying, it related to what they sell.
Right.
I'm gonna have Robin read something.
If there's a bowl, you could buy a bowl.
The West Mass said, let me see, retail sales shall be considered a principal use when more than 10% of the floor area is utilized for retail sales activities. In the event a building is occupied by 2 or more businesses, not more than 10% of the floor area of any such business may be devoted to retail.
Does that mean 10% for each business?
Mhm. Retail sales shall mean those sale transactions that require customers' physical presence within the park.
So you're saying the showroom, 10% of the building.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, 10% of the floor area.
Okay.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I think,
On some of those buildings?
I think as far as trying to control what they sell, I think we're splitting hairs. I don't know. I'm kind of more concerned with the square footage.
To me, it doesn't, I don't know, it just, if they don't have it up front, they're gonna go out back and grab it. If they don't have I don't know, a bolt that's 3 inches long, they don't have it on the shelf, they're gonna go out back and
Right,
grab it.
oh, and I
and
understand that, I
Yeah,
understand that.
right.
I'm just talking about the actual retail space in and of itself.
Yeah.
Well, if they gotta
So they're-
traverse the building to get
so
that part,
What do you call that? You call it an office, you call that a
call that a
sales office?
It's a retail space.
A retail
Retail
space.
space,
Yeah.
something like what we
Counter
Where I can
space,
go
counter
in
sales?
and, where I can walk in
counter sales.
Yeah.
and buy it.
Right, I do understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly what you're saying. Yeah, the whole building can, like you said, if there's a
Can
part back-
house it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm leaning towards a square foot number versus a percentage number. That's only my personal opinion.
I would
That's
be
what I
leaning
mean.
Yeah.
towards maybe a combination.
And maybe that's the answer?
You know,
Yeah.
In
1,000
excess.
square feet or
Not to
10%.
exceed.
Whichever is
Yeah,
less.
but here's the story. If you got a 100,000 square foot building, 10%'s 10,000 square feet.
That's
not a
fine.
problem.
huge.
That's why I'm
That's
saying
huge.
square foot, 1,000 square
But
feet.
if you have
or
a
10%,
5,000
whichever
square
is
foot
less.
building and you're talking 500 feet, that's nothing.
Yeah.
That's adequate,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm trying to lean towards a square foot, but maybe a combination of both.
Well, maybe you could also say 10%, however, not to exceed X
Right.
number of square feet.
Right, exactly.
Like not to exceed 1,000 square feet, or 1,500 square feet,
Yeah, I
or some
agree.
number
Size
like
of
that.
this room here.
This room is roughly 30 by 30, 900 feet.
900.
So, yeah, it's 1,000 feet.
That's a big room. That's
It's
a big area.
size
I mean, you got enough room for a counter, a couple of chairs,
And
and
some aisles.
and that's it.
TV, coffee.
Yeah, again, this is ancillary to the
Yeah.
primary, reason for the
Waiting
building to be
room.
there.
It can't be a separate business, it's gotta be all part of the same business.
Right,
Right,
right.
So do we want
Can
to,
I offer you a suggestion? Go over and
Certainly.
take a look at McGill Hose.
I've been there.
that's perfect.
Yeah, I have too.
Go there all the time.
Look
Yeah.
at that
Maybe
size.
two.
That's 20 by 30?
Yeah,
And I'm
it's a
probably
little
being
bit bigger.
Probably about the
than
size of this room.
Yeah.
this. Smaller?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't been in a while.
It's maybe 15 by 20. Now
And
that I'm
everything
thinking
they
about it.
sell
about
is
that.
It's
in
right
the
there.
back.
from their place.
It's basically counter sales.
Yeah. It has to do with McGill Hose.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Period.
hoses that they have manufactured for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
it's still hoses. But I mean, when I went there on the tour of the industrial garden district, that was to me, a decent size.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Right, do we want to grant some language tonight, or do we want to?
I would be willing to say, like you said, 900 square feet or 10%, whichever is less.
Make it even, make
Make
it
it
even
1,000.
1,000. Make it even 1,000.
Well, this way here, and
Well, I think
again,
then
any
you're
change-
messing with numbers, though. Then you have to go in and measure it. They have to prove how big it is
Well,
for
what I'm simply saying
percentage.
is if we know well, you're gonna know the footprint of the building when it's built, and say, if your building's 5,000 square feet, 1,000 of that can't be
we're saying it
for
can.
retail sales, no, or whichever is less.
Oh, okay, I got you. I got you. Thank you.
So run that one by me again.
All right, I think what I'm hearing is it's going to be 1,000 square feet or 10% of the building, whichever is less.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a zoning bylaw change, which means it's gotta go to a regular town meeting in the spring.
We can't get that on for the fall.
No, that
That's
will
over
be
there.
long past.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the rest of the language is
But
somewhat
I
standard.
can put it all together for
Yeah.
you, so
Yeah.
that
I
you
think
can
that was-
look at it.
And then we'll have to hold a hearing and the
and-
whole thing, so.
And I think that's the whole thing. I think once we hold a public hearing, I'm sure some of the businesses would come in and say, you know, "Well, that's not enough, maybe, you know, that's plenty." Hopefully, we'll hear from them.
Okay,
I mean, it sounds like plenty to me, but
all right, let's start with that, let's work with that, and
I
then we'll
don't
go
want
from
to
there.
use manufacturing.
Certainly, it's a place for that one or two customers a week to go and say, okay, I need this, I need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think you get a steady stream.
I don't
of
think you
people
will, 'cause
in
it's
there.
that
It's
one
not like
specific-
Costco.
Yeah.
No.
They're not really
Specific
retail
item.
customers. I mean, they're tradesmen.
Yeah.
They're people that need equipment.
I can't get it delivered, I'm coming down right now to get it.
Now, when you're saying manufactured or made, we have schools that are allowed in the industrial garden district, educational purposes,
Such as Bay Path.
such as Bay Path, but also, not physical therapy, physical therapy, training, not clubs or anything where they don't
Right.
have memberships. But they also want to sell T-shirts and hats and coffee cups. No, they don't manufacture or make anything.
I'll say anything pertaining to the business.
Yeah.
Anything pertaining to the
So-
primary business,
Pertaining to, yeah. 'Cause,
rather than,
I mean, yeah, Thermans or whatever, that, you go down there, they tell you you're supposed to exercise at home, you need this particular thing.
right.
You're gonna go all the way down to Connecticut to
Right, I-
Target to get it.
A lot of talk
I wonder what they call
Connecticut
those
tonight.
things, huh?
Then do you get into,
Yeah, because that defeats the purpose of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah,
then do you get into someone, let's say, if there's specific weight training or something that's going on, all of a sudden, hey, you need this GNC vitamin,
Well,
you need
that's-
this whole row of vitamins.
But that
you
pertains
need-
to the business.
yeah.
Which,
Again, I know, you can debate this a lot of
Yeah.
ways, but we're trying to limit them as,
Well, is it one thing to have their logo on it and not sell retail items such as things like that?
I would say whatever pertains to the primary business.
I think we can overthink it,
I think we are overthinking it.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't
But you
be
know
s-
yourself,
I wouldn't be
people are gonna come
surprised
in
if
and...
Arbor's Kids is selling Arbor's Kids T-shirts
Oh,
to
I
the
wouldn't be
kids.
surprised.
I have
You
no
know,
problem with that.
I mean, that's appropriate.
I mean,
So-
let's face
I
it, it's already
wouldn't
going
either,
on
but
now
yeah.
without issue. All we're doing is writing language to accept it.
I have no problems with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
All right, let me put something together then.
Okay.
great.
Anybody else want to add anything to that before we move on? All right, medical marijuana, you guys want to tackle that tonight?
Yeah. I've got some specific comments on Robin's
We've
proposal.
got some hot topics.
Some of which are minor and some which are significant. Under one, I don't think we need the words "the passage of."
Wait a minute, I haven't even gotten to it
Under,
yet.
just really minor, one of those dopey things that shows up in legal language.
Why isn't mine in here?
Third line
Oh,
under
yeah.
6.1.
I read it 3 times and I went
You
right
know,
over.
looking at, in accordance with the Acts of 2012, Chapter 369
Okay,
is all
so
you need.
which part of it, if you could...
Under 6.0, the first paragraph, line 4, with the passage of, it's not in accordance with the passage of, it's in accordance with the Act,
Yeah.
with Chapter
Okay.
369 of the Acts.
That was direct from the state.
I understand that. It's the state, I got problems with the state's language.
So
but
don't I. Okay, so under strict, how do you want it to read?
It should say Chapter 369 of the Acts, and nothing about the passage of, it's been passed.
In accordance with.
Chapter 369 of the Acts of 2012. It hasn't been incorporated into the Code of Massachusetts, the general bylaws, general laws yet.
When do they expect that? Are they still waiting to actually approve it?
I don't know.
No, they've
Okay.
approved it.
They've approved it, but it hasn't been given a number in Massachusetts general law yet.
Gotcha.
So that's why it's that way. Under 6.0.1.1, I'm not sure why we're in that one case capitalizing marijuana for medical. Line 4 again.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, it's just minor stuff. I like the distances proposed. The one problem I have is, what is the rail trail? If the rail trail is a park, then we wiped out the entire industrial garden district. Okay, just about.
And being a park.
So I would like specific language in here that says this does not apply to the rail trail.
I like that.
Okay, because if you do 500 feet on either side of the rail trail,
Right.
given that we've got now Bay Path on the corner of Denslow and Pease,
Right,
we've
okay.
got Arbor's Kids on Benton Drive, we've got the high school, this wipes out everything else.
Yeah.
And that's an issue for me. We would be way down, there'd be like half a lot left that you could use.
And do you think that, I was talking with Michael about this, and I'm not sure whether this is going to be accepted by the AG as too restrictive. Do you
Well-
think the 1,000 feet is too restrictive, or do you think we should just go for it and wait and see what the AG says?
I would rather go for it.
I would go
Yeah,
for it.
1,000
Okay.
feet allows package machinery lot, okay, and allows a bunch of the lots in the center of the industrial garden district.
Does it
Yes.
allow package machinery when you're looking at Lennox Fields across the street being used for soccer?
That's.
That falls
well,
under any
th-
play field,
That's the
500 feet.
500.
But, I mean, you're only crossing the road,
Yeah,
which is
well,
30
the
feet.
play field, that's not the 1,000, that's the 500. And that-
But even
that
at
would be an issue.
500.
Yeah, that would be an issue. I hadn't thought about those fields, because they're not permanent fields, and they could go away anytime. I mean, I did a layout here, if anyone wants to look at it, please. Throw this up here for a moment, and then if you look at this, the pink outline is the industrial garden district.
We'll hold it up after.
Okay. This red line is 1,000 feet from the high school boundary. This red line is 1,000 feet from Arbor's Kids. And this red line is 1,000 feet from, actually 500 feet from the Bay Path on this corner. So that leaves you this stuff here available for,
So all along Shaker Road,
along industrial, the first half of industrial, along Denslow down here, meaning this back parcel, which is totally undeveloped. And this area along Shaker, because this is commercial on this side,
Right.
okay? But if the rail trail goes right through that, if you take the rail trail out, there's nothing left. But
Yeah.
this is a significant amount of lots.
Where's package machinery located?
Package machinery is here on Chestnut.
And now if you took 500 feet
If you took 500 feet
from Lennox,
from Lennox, it would wipe them out. But it would still leave these areas along industrial, okay, and along Shaker as available.
probably going to leave less than 50% of the area.
We have some industrial garden district up where?
No,
Up by Chestnut, up that abuts the high school
Yeah,
property.
right
Did
here.
you get that? Or-
that's
Yeah,
here.
it's American Saw,
That's American Saw, Lennox,
or Lennox.
yeah. So, you
Because I
know,
have one that shows where all the schools are,
yeah,
shows where all the churches are.
right.
Um,
There are no churches down here, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
There
you
are- there
you have
are
a residential
schools.
area right there, though.
Where, here?
Yeah.
It's more than 300 feet from that.
What's adjacent to,
Because of Arbor's Kids, this area is blacked out.
what's adjacent to 330 Chestnut?
yeah, where's the fields?
The fields at Chestnut?
Fields
They're
are
over,
down there.
over here.
Right here.
Right
Isn't
there.
that Rulier's?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah.
That
But
block number
300
7.
feet still.
Yes, block
you know,
7.
That's, all that's just this wetland there, basically, 300 feet from that.
So not gonna go in anyways.
Yeah,
And there's also a halfway house there too. So
yeah.
I'm not sure
Which we
the
can't
age
talk
of the
about.
kids.
Which we can't talk about.
No, I mean,
I know
the
what
age
you're
of the
saying.
children.
Yeah.
I know what you're
Yeah.
saying.
But there is some land, there's this whole undeveloped parcel back here, there's stuff in the Whetstone property. So there is some land there. Now, whether it's overly restrictive, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Ralph points out, I didn't catch the playing fields at American Saw. We'd have to include that, which would take out a lot of package machinery, not all of it, but a lot of it. So, it just, something to think about.
I kinda like what I'm saying.
Yeah, I like your drawing.
I do too.
But the rail trail would just wipe out everything. I mean, if you...
Yeah,
I
I put it.
Yeah, that's gotta be excluded.
Where it says any park, I'll put not to include the rail trail. Because we are gonna have to show that the
Where-
town
what
has
is-
made, an
An effort, yeah.
to give them a
I
place.
don't know whether this is gonna show up. So it's not the 1,000 feet that's gonna get you, it's the 500 feet that's gonna get you,
I think so.
okay, in terms of overly restrictive. But, those are numbers that could be adjusted if the AG objects.
Right.
I think we should go with this and see what happens.
And I think by doing a special permit.
A couple other questions I had, we would have to change the table of uses,
Yes,
okay?
that's one thing. I do have it, I just didn't include it in your
Yeah.
package.
This would be retail in the industrial garden park,
Ooh.
okay? So, but if it's in the table of uses, then it's a specific allowed use.
Yeah.
Specific allowed use.
Yeah.
Right, I think that's the correct terminology.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A specific allowed use.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
for medical purposes only.
And I would like us to think about how we would want to put a parking requirement for something like that. Because if you do square footage, just our standard square footage parking, and if most of the facility is dedicated to growing, which has very little...
Which most of it would be, would be warehouse.
Very few people employed doing that.
Right.
I think the parking could get skewed way out of whack in terms of parking spaces needed. I think we need to consider how many parking spaces would be appropriate for this and maybe put in a specific requirement for parking for a facility like this.
Five per thousand for the retail portion of it.
Right,
Yeah,
and then one for every 3,000 for the warehouse.
yeah.
You
something
can use
like
a
that.
dual formula.
That's fine.
And then retail can't exceed 1,000 square feet. I mean, how big does a pot shop have to be? I mean,
Oh, they have little jars and... all
Yeah, I
different
think a small little
kinds.
room should be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big,
Well, they might have to walk to the
Well,
back
actually,
of
the
the
smaller
building
the
to
room, the easier the security
get the big
is,
stuff.
Sure.
right, yeah.
You know. But I
That'll
just,
come someday.
I did read it through, and those were my comments. I wanted to put them out there.
Very good comments.
Well, you should be on the zoning review committee with that detail.
That's why we appointed you.
Ralph, you look like you have something to say.
I do have a comment. Obviously, we have any school attended by children under the age of 18 is 1,000 feet. I'm assuming what you're looking at is basically like the Arbor Day kids. That's what comes to my mind.
Any
have
school,
dance
high school.
incorporated.
But
What
now,
about
what
the
about
dance
Bay
place?
Path if they have a 17-year-old going in there, a protege?
17-year-olds don't usually go for master's programs.
But that's what I'm saying.
What if we?
I
What
know,
if-
Yeah, but the building's not
Again, now-
intended, it's not intended for that age group, whereas the other buildings
Realize
are
that,
intended
but
for
I'm
it.
saying, I mean, at that point, then you have 1,000-foot buffer.
Yeah, but you see, the
compared
problem
to a
is, though, Ralph, you got
500.
17-year-olds all over the industrial park doing lots of different things.
Yeah, there's always gonna be an
Well,
exception
and
to
that's
the
the
rule.
other thing. Under 7G, any other location where groups of minors regularly congregate. That's pretty much any field or section of the woods.
Well, legally,
Oh,
legally.
Without
that wasn't in there. Should we add legally congregate?
I don't think you can.
I don't think.
I don't think any other location where groups of minors regularly congregate should be even in this.
You're right, it's awfully fuzzy.
Any play field, I would assume you're looking at any athletic or sporting field, like a soccer field, baseball field. Any play field sounds like any field that kids play in.
I think any regulated play field, is that better terminology?
I mean, we
I
could
know
be here all
it's-
night
I know
trying to
it's
define
crossing
it.
hairs, but-
Any piece of grass can be a play field. I think we have to
Exactly.
describe it as, the actual legitimate fields, like that they have at Lennox.
Athletic field.
Athletic field.
Athletic field. And then under Section 8, it says no smoking, burning, or consumption of any project containing marijuana. I think it's
Product.
supposed to be product.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be all done at home.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Second
Where-
page, number 8, the first line. consumption of any project.
Yep.
Other than that, I would be extremely impressed if it got through the AG's office.
One other thing that, again, it's just a redundancy. Under 738, 2D,
If you could hold just one second, hold that thought. Going back to athletic field or youth center, you want any other location where groups of minors regularly congregate out?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's not practical.
I think it's.
Yeah, I
Sorry, it
agree.
was just going too fast for me to
Yeah,
make
it's
sure I
really
was in the right
fuzzy
spot.
and
Wanna use
someone
red?
could come in and really
Yeah,
challenge
that's
any
good.
location. on
Yeah,
it.
I don't think that's practical. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Okay, page 738. 7382D. I realize you probably took that language from the state.
Hold on, let me find it, please.
Oh, sure.
738, is that the special permit?
Additional requirements.
Okay, all right.
2D,
Yeah,
wholesale sales of marijuana for medical use to other RMDs located in East Long Meadow or in another municipality in Massachusetts. Why not just say in Massachusetts? I mean,
all right. Well, because.
that's the way the state wrote it, you know.
In Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, yeah. I mean, that's very straightforward. The other one I hated, I know you took it right out of the state law and regulations, but the definition of marijuana is so confusing, it's ridiculous.
There's a definition for it?
That had to be written by a committee of legislators. All parts, okay? It starts out by saying all parts, but does not include, and then lists the parts it does not include, which is,
It's gotta be a pretty
All
long
parts
list.
except
you know, but
for-
it's
Yeah.
It
straight,
says all parts of it, whether growing or not.
right, and then halfway through the
Yeah, it
paragraph,
says it does not include.
okay, it says it does not include the mature stalks of the plant, fiber produced from the stalks, et cetera, et cetera. So it contradicts itself, but that's the way
I
it's
don't know
written
if
in
you
the
can
state
smoke
regulations.
Oil or cake
I don't know
made
anything
from
about it,
seeds
so-
of the plant.
So I'll accept it,
Why
but
would they say that that's a definition if, I mean,
that's taken right out of the state regs. I know you did that, but
I
it's
think I
confusing.
got it from Chickpea, actually.
I looked it up in the state regs. That's the way it's written.
Right, then they got
It's
it.
just very confusing. But, just going on record, I think it's confusing, but we'll
But
accept
you
it.
know
'cause-
yourself what this board has had to deal with, when you have one definition, and then someone comes in and says, well, wait a minute, it's not in the definition.
Yeah,
And that's caused so many rifts.
yeah, but I think we have to be consistent with the state definition.
Right.
And,
I think the zoning review board is correcting those things.
Isn't that nice?
That's the rumor I hear.
You better be
Nice.
quiet, you're still on it.
Just for conversation, what are we gonna do with agricultural cultivation of marijuana? That
Right now,
falls
nothing.
under section 40A subsection 3, so when you drive by Meadowbrook Farms and it's...
Let's not name
What
it.
is it?
Where's all the strawberries?
I'm using that as a farm in
Well, I
town
think
or
you
any...
can, I
One
think
problem
they
at a
have
time.
to
I
prove
just-
that to you through their special permit, that it is an agricultural use.
Do they become an RMD?
Oh, yeah, by the state, absolutely. The state doesn't exempt them from their regulations or the money that they have to pay the state. Don't forget, the state's the one
Well,
that's
because
gonna
I
be
know
in
we talk
charge.
about basically trying to keep this contained in a building, growing it indoors, but yet under agricultural law, they may be allowed to grow it outdoors, which,
Yeah, but have they made-
it's another one of these
have they made that
juggling
determination
acts.
yet? Does it fall under agricultural?
Um,
Oh, yeah, it would, because you grow it on.
I realize that, but, one instance growing indoors, other instance growing outdoors, is this climate even conducive to growing it outdoors? I don't know,
Oh,
what's the
well.
span time, I have no idea.
Yes,
In
it's
East Long
conducive
Meadow-
to being grown outdoors. They, years and years ago, when I was a kid, had a right across the street in the cornfield from my house.
Okay, all right,
Where
so you're right.
they
You're
found
right.
it by helicopter. So, with that being said, I would say.
Did you get arrested, Ralph?
All right, so is there any other change anybody would like to make to what's been proposed?
I think it's a wonderful start.
I think it is too.
Thank Robin for putting it
Good
all
job,
together
Robin.
this way.
All right, so do we want to vote on, or do you want to get everything finalized and we'll discuss it one more time?
If that's what you want to do, I'm
And I will
happy
take
with it.
And everybody, anybody's
I can make
suggestions?
those changes, those are all the changes.
And this is looking at going on
Springtime.
the spring.
Yeah, we're not gonna make the fall anyway, so why don't we just wait after we get the changes in
I
case anybody
agree.
has any
Yeah,
additional
we have time.
comments?
Yeah, I
Sure.
think we're ahead of
We're
schedule,
way
if you
ahead.
will.
This will be really nice for a change.
Yeah,
Good.
no, because long,
Where
I
you
mean, we'll
don't have
be,
to rush.
we'll have it done before our moratorium, we'll have it done for the spring meeting, and, all right, so there's no really reason to vote on it tonight, if everybody agrees with that.
Right, we have till June for the moratorium.
All right, and then, last but not least, there's some pre-existing non-conforming things that keep coming up, and, the language in our book is conflicting. I've had this discussion with Rob, and I've had it with Dan today. Somebody has come to the building department, wants to put a second floor addition on to a pre-existing non-conforming house on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. The language in the book says that it does not need a section 6 finding if it is not the nature of it is not substantial. And there's another part that says any change or alteration which is more substantial than the original use needs a section 6 finding. So I guess what I'm asking the board tonight is if somebody puts a second floor on a single floor house, does it need a section 6 finding, or is the nature being changed dramatically enough that it needs a section 6 finding? And I would welcome your comments and or ideas.
Is it disrupting the footprint, existing footprint?
No, it is not. It's basically going straight up. It's become a 1-story to 2-story without increasing the footprint, without increasing the side yard, rear yard, or
I
front
mean, you
yard
got a
setbacks.
non-conforming house, and we're making it bigger.
You're going up.
Yeah, but
Right.
you're still making it bigger, though.
I agree, but the question I have is, are you changing the nature of this pre-existing non-conforming structure, use, or
It's still a
lot?
house, so the use
Yep.
is still the same.
Correct.
But you're making it bigger. I mean, I know you're not making bigger footprint, you're going up. Just from a practical standpoint, it doesn't seem to be making sense to me.
In what way?
In what way is, we've already got something that shouldn't be there, but it's grandfathered in because for a number of reasons, it was allowed and grandfathered, so we let it go. But now we're just making it worse.
To add to that, the irony is, all of us, or myself, George, and Ralph, we've been to a seminar where people that have, and Robin, people that have pre-existing non-conforming lots, uses, and/or structures have more rights than the people that don't have it.
Yeah, because
Court case-
they're grandfathered in everything.
Correct. Court case after court case has shown us that, to the point where the attorney we spoke with said, what we thought needed a variance, come to find out, needed a section 6 only. So the thinking of this board, I think, has changed somewhat in the past few years. And the way that's been, sold to me is these people have, or told to me, these people have more rights. And what they were allowed to do back then, they should be allowed to be done today. That being said, if they increase the nonconformity by increasing on the sidelines or increasing or closer to the road, then they need a section 6 finding. Then they would have to come before us, which we've done in the past. But I think there needs to be a line where we're wasting people's time and money to basically, they're going to come before us and we have not a legal foothold to stand on to deny them. So I'm trying to find, maybe take a little bit more gray out and give maybe Robin a little bit more power, maybe Dan a little bit more power, and again, try to find what should create a section 6 finding versus what should not.
To me, I think it should be not just expanding the footprint, but if you're expanding the square footage, even though you're going up and the footprint remains the same, you're still doing the same thing, just that instead of going out, you're going up.
Okay. Anybody else?
But it actually states right in the book, the last section, extension or structural change to a single or two-family residential structure, if it does not increase the non-conforming nature of the structure, then it's allowed. That's section 3.4. Through the seminar that we went to, it was pretty clear When he labeled it, what he said was if you have a pre-existing, and he drew it out on paper, let's say you're too close to the street line. You have a building that's pre-existing, it's non-conforming because it's too close to the street. They put a deck off of the back of it, but every area of that deck conforms with your sideline, your back line and all. Even though you're increasing it, you don't need a Section 6 finding. You
You're
need a
not-
building permit.
Correct.
Now, if you go off the front of the building with a porch and you're making it more non-conforming, then you need a Section 6 finding. Because now you're coming closer, you're making a new non-conforming.
If I could just
Certainly.
interject, I'm just going to say one thing. You're talking two separate things. You are talking Chapter 40A and not our bylaws. Our bylaws supersede Chapter 48.
I'm reading our bylaw.
Okay,
Right, no, I know,
read-
she's making a
read-
point, though.
Read the bylaw, the very first paragraph of that.
I-
And where it does do well for the townspeople, and has in the past, is under the non-conforming lots, because we're much more lenient than Chapter 40A is. The only thing is our bylaws can't be more restrictive. So what you're quoting is Chapter 40A, not our bylaws. And
Actually, what I was
whatever
quoting
decision you-
was what I just read in here.
No, which is our
Which, if
bylaw.
you read the entire paragraph,
And then you read the
but you
next
can't,
paragraph.
you can't pick out one line of it.
No, you
have to
can't.
pick out the entire
The
paragraph.
paragraph, and then
And-
go to non-conforming structures and uses.
When it comes down, where alteration, reconstruction, extension, or structural change of a single or two-family residence structure does not increase the non-conforming nature of said structure.
Right, I'm not
With-
saying it's not allowed, but
Well,
then go on to read this. You read 3.52 and then tell me how it does, well, don't
And-
tell
and
me,
that's-
I'm
That's the
done.
problem we're having.
Yes, exactly.
It is a gray area.
Exactly.
One paragraph contradicts another paragraph. Again, I'm trying to,
So what are you suggesting we should do?
we need to find some language that'll circumvent Section 6 without wasting people's time and money if it's, for this conversation. I think going up should be allowed. Going back to what Ralph said, if somebody puts a deck on the back without if they conform to the sideline setbacks and the rear yard setbacks and they're not encroaching on any of those, that's very similar to a new house that would be built on that lot.
Yeah.
A new house has to be built to the sideline setbacks, but a new house does not need a Section 6 finding.
Right.
I don't think an addition should need a Section 6 finding. However, if you stay within the pre-existing non-conforming footprint, or if you increase on the pre-existing non-conforming footprint, then I think we need a Section 6 finding. That being said, if it's too close to a corner lot, is it gonna block somebody's view from a road? That, to me, should be a Section 6 finding, and I think we can give the latitude to her and/or Dan to make some of those decisions, rather than bringing the people before us, spending their time, our time, their money, and holding people up. I'm trying to make it easier for the people who we cannot deny to begin with, to just get them in the right direction they need to be going in the first place. And then, again, there is some gray area between your interpretation, my interpretation, Ralph's, and Dan's interpretation.
And what do you think about the rights of the abutters? For example, the tiny little houses, and then someone's going to come in and put a real tall house in the middle.
First of all, we have stipulations you can't build anything over 35 feet. So
Right.
if that lot was vacant, somebody could build a 3-story building. I don't see how we can take away their right to put a second story on if they're entitled to do so to begin with. So if that lot was vacant, they'd be able to build whatever they want, as long as they met all the setback criteria.
If I can just play devil's
Certainly.
advocate, something that this board had to deal with on Maple Street. If you remember, that one house was looking for an addition, it was a pre-existing non-conforming, and it wasn't until the neighbor came in and said, please don't let them add that on, because then they take away our whole view of the back area.
And that would go back directly to what we talked about. They were staying in their pre-existing non-conforming footprint, ergo they needed Section 6. He was also increasing the non-conforming, he needed Section 6. After review from this board, input from the neighbors, we all saw that there was more than enough room for him to move his addition to comply with our zoning bylaws. That's a perfect example of where we needed a Section 6. That's also a perfect example where the system worked. For argument's sake, if that gentleman wanted to go up with a second floor, I don't think we would have a leg to stand on to stop him, because he would have stayed within his footprint. So once he stays within his footprint, now the only the next zoning or next bylaw you'd have to deal with would be a height restriction, and that's a building restriction, not a zoning restriction.
How do you make a determination whether or not it's gonna be less, or, I mean, more detrimental if you're not aware of the neighborhood?
Depends on what you call more detrimental. Going up to me is not more detrimental.
See, that's
And that's-
your decision. I think that has to
No,
be.
that's my opinion, not my decision, that's
Yeah.
my
I mean,
opinion.
thought into it.
Speaking of grandfathering, let's say some guy has a sign that's grandfathered.
Yep.
That we wouldn't allow, but it's been there forever, so we're just gonna allow it. He can't make it bigger.
He cannot make it bigger, but he can take it down and replace it.
No.
No,
No, you
can-
can't.
No, we just had that discussion.
Yeah.
Just had that.
He can
Yeah.
maintain it,
He can maintain it.
You can't
That's it.
replace it.
can't replace it.
Can't replace the sign itself?
No,
What about the one around the corner?
Mhm.
I mean, I agree that he can't replace it.
he's not supposed
I
to.
must have missed that one.
That's illegal.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because we've had people come before us with pre-existing non-conforming changes. I know we sent them to ZBA.
They got a variance.
Okay, all right.
Going back to the height on a building, if you're on a lake and you're at the water and you have a small little cottage, and all you want to do is go up 2 floors, you're still within the 35-foot height range, but the person directly behind you that was slightly up the hill, always looking over your house at the beautiful lake, now all of a sudden can't see the lake because your house is 35 feet tall in front of his.
Right, that was actually.
Is that more detrimental?
There's tons
That,
of case
I would
law
say
on
yes.
That
There's
was-
tons of case law.
That
on
was a Gale case too. That was a Dubendorf case that he presented to us,
Yeah.
if you recall, because of topography. Let me back up a minute. Let's say this person buys a 1-story house, pre-existing non-conforming lot, pre-existing non-conforming structure, pre-existing non-conforming setbacks. They would be allowed to take it down and rebuild the house in its same place. Am I right? If they use 25% of the foundation or something like that. So this person elects to buy this, they tear it down, and they propose plans for a new 2-story building. It's no different than allowing them to put an existing story or a second story on an existing story. And that's where, we're chasing ourselves in circles here. One circumstance would be allowed, and yet another one, we're asking for a section 6 finding.
Mr. Chairman, what I suggest you do is come back to us with some language.
Well, I know, and the reason I'm asking tonight is because somebody's in this predicament right now, and I guess, before I have them in for a section 6 finding, I would like everybody's input, because it is getting late in the season. If we delay these people for 5-6 weeks, it's gonna make them that much harder to get started with their project. In this particular instance, it is somebody who wants to go straight up on the footprint as it exists. And you're right, I want to get some language to try to rectify this and streamline things in the future. But I guess my question is, based on what you've heard tonight, is going up, changing the nature of the residence substantially enough to warrant a section 6?
I can't comment on something like that unless I see a plan.
Okay.
I can't. I've been in too many situations over the many years I've been involved through conservation and now planning to give an opinion like that without seeing a plan, because I've been blindsided far too many times. I will no longer give an opinion unless I actually see what's being proposed. It's that simple.
All right, so should we get a particular person in here? Let's see what they have, and then ask them, maybe put forth the section 6 information forth now and get them in here for, I want to say a preliminary hearing, but get everybody's input and make a decision then.
What's the,
If we're gonna be asking them to come in, why not just set
it'd
it up
be-
as
it'd be
a
4
section
weeks.
6?
Because it would be 4 weeks. So if we got them in here in 2 weeks, we could discuss a little bit further, we could see it, and then we could determine whether or not it even needs a section 6 finding. Again,
Why
I'm
would
trying to
section 6 finding be 4 weeks?
He's gonna be advertised for 14 days, that gets us away from our next meeting. Have to be put on for the end of the
I
month,
don't
which is
have it yet.
4
Okay.
weeks.
I don't have it.
There's certain guidelines for section 6 that have to be followed.
Exactly.
And
No, that, I was just wondering.
And I would love to do that, and if we could, but, Robin informed me
I
of
don't have
certain.
the plan.
Okay.
He doesn't have a certified plan.
Well, this gets back to the issue
Yep.
of, we've got policies, we've got procedures. If people aren't looking far enough ahead on the construction schedules to file things in a timely manner, I don't think that should be, the onus should be on the board.
Oh, I agree. But what the onus of the board is is a contradictive language in the bylaw. And as far as us getting
So, I mean, if they want to come in,
definitive language.
I'm very happy to discuss it, if they want to come in and discuss it with us, I got no problem
Okay.
with that.
Well, let's do
But,
that.
like I say, without seeing a definitive plan,
That's fine.
it's just, because I've seen people come in and say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and
And it
then when
never
they
gets
show up
done.
the plan, it's completely different,
That's true.
you know?
So they can come in next meeting for discussion, and in the meantime, get their advertising going.
Correct.
And if they like the way it went next meeting, they'll keep their appointment 4 weeks from now. If they don't like the way it's going, they can withdraw their application.
I think if we saw what was presented to us, then we can make a determination whether or not it is a Section 6 finding.
Yeah.
So let's start with that. Let's start,
Okay.
walk
I
before
agree.
we run. And that way, we're giving the applicant the benefit of the doubt, the board, everybody gets a chance to see it, and then we can talk about it a little bit further.
So we're the ones who are gonna figure out if it's section.
Well, I want everybody to see what's being presented. I mean, I brought up the question tonight of how the language is written. I mean, we've known for a while that it's ambiguous. As people read more and more into it, the more seminars we go to, the more attorneys we speak with. Let's face it, you can argue different points, different ways, many different times. And, I think for the town of East Long Meadow, the uniqueness that it is, I think we need a little bit more definitive language.
I have no problems with going up.
I don't either, but I also respect it to the other board members to take a look at what we're doing, we're trying to achieve. Maybe we get some satellite pictures, we get some.
Because if you get a regular house that's that's.
They're entitled to do it anyways.
Everything's perfect, they can go up,
Correct.
no problem.
But I think in all fairness to everybody, we'll wait the 2 weeks. We'll-
Yeah,
we'll-
the
we'll
way,
take a look at
the
it
way
again.
I see it, now that you've used that example, is if you tear the house down, keep the foundation.
Yep,
You can build anything you want to on the same foundation,
correct.
2-story or 1-story.
That's what this guy's doing.
So,
it's-
which contradicts with my feelings on it.
And which contradicts our own bylaws. And that's why, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think we need some delineation within our bylaws to try to say, for argument's sake, this gentleman brings it before us. There's not really a legal precedent that we can deny him, unless there's some real super huge mitigating factor, which, I don't think that there is. But if he's increasing the footprint, going outside his pre-existing non-conforming, where there would be a traffic issue, a site issue, a neighbor issue, again, we're that perfect example, we're perfectly within this board. But you're right, they could tear it down and build a new two-story house. It's been done time and time again. So to prohibit them from putting a second story on, we don't have a legal leg to stand on. And I guess where I'm going with is, I don't want to hold somebody up if we can't hold them up. There's no precedent to hold them up.
I still feel exactly the way I said earlier, but looking at the example that you just gave about tearing the house down, building a new house on it, I can't really be against it because that is allowed.
Right. All right, well, let's take George's suggestion, let's get them before us. We can all take a look at the plans.
Yeah.
And that way, we can kind of meet him halfway, we can meet ourselves halfway, if you will. And then we can make a determination and then move forward with some more language and spend a little bit more time within a featured meeting.
Do you have the contact information?
I do have his phone number, that's all I have.
All right, do you want to contact him?
I will, I'll contact him tonight, and I'll have him go through to you, and then I'll let him know where we
Just
are.
make sure that he still gets his plan
Yep.
and everything, so that
Okay.
he can see what he's.
All right, everybody, all right with that?
I'm good with it.
All right, anybody else have anything to add tonight before we adjourn?
Ralph?
Now, we got some minutes too, before I get too far ahead of myself.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Oops, sorry.
That's all right, I probably needed it.
No.
All right, do we want to discuss any minutes, since we have no more discussion? We got July 2nd, 16th, 30th, and August 13th.
All right, do this and then we'll discuss later. You're on a roll now.
I'll put it all down.
No, you're good.
All right, July 2nd and 16th, I'm set with. 30th, I've got some I have to finish, and August 13th, I have not gotten to.
All right, well, if we can do July 2nd,
And 16th.
and I believe the 16th already had the,
Yeah, I wasn't even here for those meetings.
no, not yet.
Good luck, guys.
Lucky you.
The 16th, July 16th, I think the corrections were already received and made.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 2nd.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, minutes for July 2nd are approved.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 16th as corrected.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's done. July 30th, I'm not ready, and August 13th, I'm not ready.
July 30th, I don't remember if I sent corrections in or not yet. I know I sent a bunch of them all at the same time,
Yeah.
so,
The last meeting you said you sent me.
yeah, I sent them, I can't tell you how many.
So the next meeting, I'd like to call the rest of the minutes, so we can get a fresh start for September.
That's a warning, not a statement.
You bet.
We got the article.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, make a motion to adjourn?
Oh, hold on.
Wait a minute,
Any
there's still
further
more we
discussion?
need to.
Two small, quick little things. Graziano's came up to me today and asked why they needed an amendment for selling donuts at their store, or at their place.
I think it's another element of the retail/business. I don't-
Different use.
It's a completely different use.
Well,
They're also looking to put a structure, you know that, it's an outside thing to make the donuts.
It's a portable
Yeah.
unit. It's 1 foot
It's-
wide, 3 foot long. It sits on a table.
When-
It's still not part of their use.
What does that have to do with farming, is my first question.
Actually, I did some research actually this afternoon as far as farming goes, and called agribusiness. It doesn't necessarily have to be something you've made an apple or whatever. What they're allowing on farms is basically a way to draw people in, or a service where it's secondary in nature, it's ancillary.
Bingo.
As far as you can draw the people in, keep them there, encourage them to spend more money on your products, it's allowed under agricultural. There's a whole list. There's actually a legal writing on it that I came up with under Massachusetts. And basically what they're encouraging is agribusiness. It's sort of like a maize, a cornstalk maize. What does that have to do with agriculture? As far as you're not picking the corn, you're not eating the corn, you're not buying the corn.
You're talking right smack dab in the
walking
middle of a
through.
residential district.
All right, not to interrupt you, but first of all, I want to go back to what you said. You're talking about getting people there. So now we're going to be adding an element to bring more traffic to an area that's already overutilized. We're going to bring more traffic to an area that's strictly residential. And now we're going to do something to entice more people to stay longer. All those things come, in my humble opinion, completely conflict with the residential neighborhood. And the last thing I want to do is put any more stress and pressure on those neighbors by adding yet another
What
gimmick.
would your suggestion be then to create an agricultural zone? Because right now we don't have an agricultural zone. We can have agriculture right in the middle of residential. We can have it in an industrial garden park. We can have it, we could turn, if someone purchased center field, into a farm.
We can, but we have...
And the whole thing is, you can't look at the location of where it's at, because you know what? I mean, I'm gonna use Mr. Goldstein's old dairy farm. That was right dab in the center of resident A. And
So
you know
is
what?
it
There's
Meadowbrook?
all
Big
residentials
difference.
all the way around it.
I understand that.
And you know what? I had cows walking through my yard.
But
You
you're
know
talking
what?
about a business that exists on a postage stamp. You're talking about a business that probably is already at their lot coverage, or pretty close to their lot coverage, if I'm not mistaken.
But let's be clear. We're talking about a business where we have a site plan
And a special permit.
and special permit. This is not a agricultural exemption business. It is in part, but they're also under special permit. And the special permit governs what can go on there, as does the site plan. We have yet to resolve the issues with the site plan and with
Correct.
previous agreements with them, for them to expand the use at this point, okay, and to change what they're doing there. When the current site plan issues have not been resolved, and they have not submitted a change to the site plan, I find that that's totally unacceptable.
I agree.
This is special permit. This is not, special permits are pretty specific.
I believe
The
we
actual-
signed off on a site plan.
You
We signed
also
off on a
signed
site
off
plan
on a
that's
special
not being
permit
followed.
that specifically states the amount of retail that's
And-
allowed on that piece of property.
And actually, George, you brought up
Like
a great
selling
part
bread.
as far as, part of it's an agricultural exemption farm,
Yeah.
part of it's under special. I mean, I've read
I don't know what's the matter with
Chapter 48, Section 3, which states explicitly that farming is not to be put under a special permit. Now, I understand this happened well before me, and I understand.
What
it's-
what you're missing is it was never them selling their product. It was them building a castle that put them under a special permit. That's what happened. It was the construction of that castle in the middle of the residential district, which you know, and you have to admit, the castle is not agricultural. The planning board allowed it. They allowed retail of Christmas ornaments and everything because they were convinced that the selling of the Christmas ornaments was in relationship to their selling of the Christmas trees. So the fact that they are allowed to sell product relating to flowers and trees is not under special permit. But that building and the retail space in that on that site is all controlled under the special permit.
And this would be retail as
Absolutely.
well, as well as being a change from selling plants to selling food. And again, that comes under the special permit portion of the site. Okay, I really have major problems with just saying, go ahead and do it. I don't think it's, I mean, I know they're trying, small business people trying to make a living, but, you gotta.
In all honesty, selling a half a dozen donuts, even 10 dozen donuts, I mean, he's not selling it to make money.
Of course he is.
No, what he's trying to do.
Don't kid yourself.
What he's trying to do is actually have people stay longer, enjoy. While you're there, you're eating, you're thinking, hey, I'll buy that, I'll buy this.
All right, at whose
I know
expense?
the longer I stay at a location, the more money I spend. I go to Cabela's,
All right, my
trust me, I
question
walk
is-
around that store for 10 minutes, I see, oh, they're always offering this and that.
But at whose expense? And I don't want the neighborhood is already impacted more than it needs to be. They've already got several violations that aren't corrected. To add one more would be kicking the neighbors in the teeth. And I'm just not willing to do that.
I mean, if he was offering free donuts to people while they're shopping, that's a different issue. You're selling them, you're selling. Okay?
Because then it'll be a lighted stand. Then it's they're gonna have a spotlight. Then it'll be a sign. There'll be another
Then they're gonna have
organ
cider.
grinder. It's gonna be,
No.
I'm personally not interested in entertaining the idea. Not at this point.
Not until we resolve the existing outstanding issues, and then we can look at something new.
And as far as the existing outstanding issues, I believe we did a site walk, we did a site plan, we came through. Has there been additional issues
Yes.
brought in front of us that I'm
The-
unaware of?
No, you're aware of them. I told you that they were in violation of their agreement, and the building inspector is supposedly doing an inspection and getting back to the board to make a determination.
Exactly. I heard that the building inspector was going to go out and look at it, but I didn't realize we had determined that they were in violation yet.
Upon complaints that were received,
I think it's.
he's going and
In all
looking.
fairness,
All
I've
you have
driven
to do
by,
is
I
drive
have seen the
by.
violations. So I can honestly speak on the board's behalf and my own behalf. I've seen the violations with my own two eyes. I've witnessed them several times.
If there's violations that we know of then, we should be asking them to come in.
No, we should be asking the building inspector to enforce and/or do an investigation and report back to us. Because we are the
And
ones
that
that
came
authorize
from
the
town
special permit.
council.
Yeah, it's come from town council, so.
And until that point, I would still like to say, until I hear from our building inspector with his,
And that's fine, but I think the issue tonight is the donuts and cider issue. And again, I'm not willing to entertain that until we resolve all the other issues. To create yet another problem when we already have existing problems, I think would be foolhardy. And again, not fair to the neighborhood and/or the neighbors. Not the people that live there. And Christmas season's coming up, let's face it, places are gonna get busier. To add more congestion, more traffic, more cars, more lights, I just, not fair to the neighborhood.
I think the problem goes all the way back to whether they're operating under a special permit or under agricultural.
I think right now, in
And-
the town's eyes are all
And
operating under
I
special
think it's
permit.
extremely cloudy, because like you said, there's certain areas that's absolutely that, there's, like I said, certain areas that aren't.
That's why a new plan
And-
was done. That's why an agreement was made up, and everything is very specific. And on the plan, it shows the retail that's allowed there. And that site is overutilized. And we got, the board got town council involved. And town council is the one that says if they violate that agreement, the board must do something. And the first way to do it, rather than just strictly go to court, was to have the building inspector go out, make the inspection, he has a copy of the agreement, report back to the planning board that this, and this.
I've said my piece.
I think we all have. All right, with that being
Two
said,
things.
Bill, you said you had two.
Anything done with Patsy's?
Nope. According to Dan Hilliard, we don't need the ramp, and I don't think we need the stairs. So I'm waiting for an official letter on that, and that will be that.
Well, actually, I don't think that's that.
Oh, the dumpster. We still have a dumpster issue.
No, actually, when he came in on his plan, we basically said that under a special permit, you need this. We as the planning board, not as the building department, as the planning board, were requiring that ramp because in our opinion, we decided he needed it.
And our opinion was based on the building inspector slash...
Our opinion's based on the fact that he has a deck that really shouldn't have gone on there.
I agree.
And he agreed to put this ramp on. And the fact that he hasn't, he agreed actually to put the ramp on. And
I think he agreed to put it on to address our concerns and the building inspector's concerns. And
but
that being...
nonetheless, he still agreed to do it.
Right.
And
However...
that's why the special permit was issued the way it was and the site plan was agreed upon the way it was. Now, if you're gonna go back and change this, I think we need to bring them back in, look at this, do the amendment because it's on the plan, so now the plan's not gonna be accurate.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
And
in
the
that,
fact
in
that,
sense.
is the dumpster enclosed yet?
I don't know.
No, and that is an issue that still needs to be addressed.
That
But
was an issue that he agreed to 17 years ago when he first started, and it was on the first special permit.
well, for argument's sake, we're supposed to have dumpsters here at Town Hall enclosed. They're not. You know, it's hard to enforce something when we can't follow our own bylaws.
And I made
I know
the
you did.
inquiry,
I know you did. And I appreciate that.
and I'm still waiting on Nick as to where the money is.
But to make Patsy put on a ramp, yes, was our idea based on the decisions we got from other people, i.e. the building inspector and the fire department, because we needed a means of egress. Now I'm being told the original opinion was flawed and needs to be changed. So if that...
By who?
The building inspector.
Okay.
So supposedly he's going to be writing me a letter to the direct opposite effect of the first letter. As I said earlier, we're not traffic people, nor are we zoning enforcement officers. So it's not up to us to question him, it's up to us to take his word as put in front of us. Whether we require him or not, if it's not required, what I don't want to do is increase the non-conforming structure, of which we just talked about previously, any more than it already is. Because that ramp was a means of emergency escape for a handicapped person. If I'm told by the building inspector that we do not need it, I'm certainly not going to force him to have it.
Wasn't it, hold on, wasn't it a
comment.
second? That was also a secondary
Again, I agree.
for anyone,
I agree.
handicapped or not.
I agree.
And
Because you can't go through
may
a
I also
kitchen.
comment that handicap ramps do not increase nonconformances. They are exempt
Again,
from conformance.
and I completely, but if it's not required, it's not necessary, I find it hard for us to make him do it. However, the information base to begin with, we were told he needed it. Now I'm being told that he doesn't. So I need to clarify that with the building inspector to get a final answer in a letter documenting all it, so we are covered. Because the original letter says he needed it. Again, I'm not, I can't do his job anymore, and I want him doing ours.
But we would need, to, as Ralph points out, we need to change the
You're right,
special
you're absolutely
permit to amend it and amend the site plan if we're going to
So let me get
accept
the
it.
Which
definite
is going
language.
to make him have it redrawn again.
I don't think so. I don't.
Why not? The site plan's not gonna be accurate because I know for a fact the ramp's on it.
The ramp is, I know, but I don't
So
see why it's
he's
got to be
got it.
redrawn.
What are we just gonna exit out?
Yeah.
Can't do that. It's a signed plan, it's a stamped plan.
Well, I think we can find a simple solution versus making him redraw the whole plan. And that being said, I
Simple
don't,
solution is to put the ramp on. And I mean, in all honesty, that was the simplest solution. That's what he agreed to. That's what we as a board agreed to. And I really think that's what we should stick with.
all right, well,
That's
let me do
my
this.
opinion on
Let me
it.
get my information from Dan. I'll bring it back. We'll speak about it again. We'll speak to this issue again, and then,
The fire.
Yeah, well, I didn't hear the original case, so,
The fire department doesn't have any say in this?
Again, I have not talked to, I think Ben is a safety officer, I need to talk to him one more time.
I wanna see the set of stairs, I just feel.
As do
don't know,
I,
If
but I'm
something
told-
happens, I'll feel guilty that.
And actually, I think, another inspector has told us the same thing.
And Ben said that the fire department has to acquiesce to the.
Building official.
Building official. That is, would it make a second exit? Absolutely.
So let's do
But
this,
if
let's
the
get all our
building-
facts in writing, let's get them in front of us, and then let's address this issue again. Is that fair enough?
Apparently,
Fair
it's
enough.
been an issue with the fire department and the building department.
I'm sure it has. I don't, I don't want to overstep our authority. That's what I'm not, trying not to do.
No, but I do think
No, your points are well noted and
part of
well.
our authority, I mean, there's no one that can say that the dumpster's not supposed to be enclosed. That was a simple, easy.
Correct.
I mean, and like I said, it's just one of these where it's gone on and on and on. And at some point,
The problem is mistakes were made long before we got here, and then we're left with the mistakes, and now we've got to correct them. But we have to correct them in a manner that is, fair to the applicant and fair to the board and fair to the town.
and I thought we had done that, actually.
I thought we had done that too,
and,
but now I'm being told by the person that said we were being accurate that we were not being accurate. So I have to defer to that. So again, we'll get the information, we'll get back before us. All right, anybody else before we adjourn?
Nope.
I'm good.
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.